Hi, everyone. Welcome back. I'm Linda Belzile Buisson. I'm really thrilled to have you join me again today. Today, we have Kimberly Brenner as our guest. Hi, Kimberly.
Hi, Linda.
Kimberly is actually a clinical social worker, and she works with couples, helping them relate to being married versus actually being a marriage counselor. Welcome.
Thanks, Linda. Thank you so much.
So can you tell us a bit about maybe if you can tell us a bit about what it is to for couples to relate to being married versus getting marriage counseling and how you do that.
Absolutely. A lot of time marriage counseling can actually hurt the marriage because a lot of times you're focused on what isn't working and how to fix what isn't working. Where I look at marriage as relating to being married, I think of it as a job in some ways. So I'm married for 44 years, but after 18 years, I divorced my husband. And we were divorced for 7 years before I realized that for the first 18 years of my marriage, I acted like a girl and not a woman.
Mhm.
And those 7 years that I was away from him, I did a lot of personal growth work, a lot of personal growth work. And then I realized what it took to be married, to relate to it. So I called up my husband late one night and I said, honey, it's not over. And he said, you're right, it's not. And within 2 weeks, I was in Atlanta and he was in El Paso. And I got in my car, drove 2 days. And here I was in El Paso and started to relate to being married and what it meant. So a lot of communication, a lot of compromise, but not to the point of forgetting who I am as a woman. And I see this a lot with women.
Mhm.
They lose themselves in their marriage, and then they become angry and resentful and upset. And then they stop loving and they stop letting love in because of the resentments. So if I can help them balance who they are with what's expected in a marriage, then the marriage works because women are the voice of the relationship. They really are.
Yeah, fascinating. And I really love that you mentioned the being a woman versus being a girl. That energy is very different. Can you talk about that and what the difference might be?
Absolutely. I look at the 4 stages of women, and the first stage is being a maiden. And when we're young, we have to be a maiden because we need our parents to take care of us. And by learning how to let somebody take care of you, that maiden energy allows for a husband to be able to take care of his wife.
Mm.
So she knows how to do that. And a lot of women today are, a lot of girls today are fighting that relationship with their parents. So they want to be independent way too soon. And they never learned how to let love in. They never learned how to appreciate somebody taking care of them. And the second phase for women is that of as an explorer. They have to know, who am I? What do I like? What do I not like? And setting limits to be able to say no. And then the third phase is provider. So now that I know who I am and what I provide, I'm a full self-expression of myself. This is
Mm.
who I am. This is how I want to raise my children. This is the kind of husband I want. This is the kind of family I want. This is the kind of career I want. And when you provide from that place, there's a strength and you don't lose yourself.
Mhm.
And then the last phase is that of a goddess. So a woman who knows herself, expresses from that, is admired. And when a woman is admired, she becomes a goddess.
Mm. Um, and how does, I mean, this stuff is not sort of, well, certainly it's not taught. Most people don't have this kind of role model in their lives. So how would people access these ways of being if they don't have role models in their lives, or if they've never met you or seen you or heard anything like this? What would you say?
I think that there are pieces of it out there. For example, women learning how to set boundaries. That conversation is there. Or a woman who is learning communication skills, how to communicate and be heard,
Mm.
how to work with people. So a lot of corporations are doing training. So in companies, that's become available. The looking for confidence, that's a lot out there too. A woman having confidence. Learning how to love yourself, that's also out there big time. The question is, can I love myself and let love in?
Yeah.
And I'm watching a lot of women in some ways like resisting, or the biggest one I've seen, because I grew up in the 60s and watched in the 70s this transformation of women, and it's hurt men because women have said, we don't need you. You don't need a man. And this has destroyed the ego of a man. And men do have egos, and men are just as sensitive as women. And so when you tell a man, I can do this without you, and you better do what I say, or I'll leave you. And a lot of women are doing the leaving now. And a lot of women are doing the cheating now. So it's just a measure of women aren't happy. So after 60 years of women being independent and women's liberation, women still aren't happy.
So what would it take? I mean, what does it take for women to be happy? Because, as a sort of modern woman in modern society, this is kind of a slightly different sort of definition of what it is to be, or certainly the most popular or social definition of marriages. So what does it take to, for this to work in our society, and for men to feel like they have their space, and women to feel like they're both empowered within the conversation, within the relationship?
I think that question that you're asking is so many women are seeking that, and it is the woman, like who was it? I think Gandhi says it's the Western woman that will heal the world.
Yeah.
I had a vision in a meditation many, many, many years ago. And this woman shows up in my meditation, and she says, we're here. And I said, well, who's we? And the picture of this woman was made up of all tiny little pictures of other women. So when you got really close to the picture, you can see thousands and thousands of faces of women. And then when you stepped back, you only saw one woman. And she said, men are suffering. Women need to help heal men. And she showed me a goblet, and she said, the cup is the woman. The stem is the man. The stem has no purpose but to hold the cup up. And the purpose of the cup is to hold as much as you can, and the only way to do that if it's upright. So if the cup has no stem, it cannot hold as much.
Yes.
So the two pieces must go together. And so she's showing me this and go, well, what am I supposed to do? And she says, help women heal men. And this was so many years ago, and I completely forgot about it until I found myself working with couples. I started my practice working with children whose parents were divorced. And of course, I had to work with the parents too. And I started going, wait a second, why don't I work with the couples? Why don't I help them stay together so that the children don't have to be children of divorce? So that's how I got to working with couples. And of course, I could relate since I was married, divorced, back with my husband again, and looked at what it took. But I could only look at it from myself as a woman and talk to women. And I do work a lot with men, and I see their wounds. All they want to do is to make their wife happy.
Right.
And they don't know how. And when I ask women, do you know how to be happy? And they go, no. So the question that you're asking is, the answer I would give is women want partnerships.
Yes.
they were once at the mercy of the man telling them how to live their life. They swung the pendulum where now the woman is telling the man how she wants to live her life, and he better shape up. And now what makes a woman happy is this sense of partnership.
And how do you define this partnership? Because I would have to agree with that statement. But how do people go from not having a partnership to creating one that's meaningful for them as a couple?
I agree. I think I talk about with my couples, what do you need to give up? You're going to have to give up something, like lay down a sword or something. And one of them is being right.
That's the first thing that popped into my head. Yeah.
So if you lay down being right and lay down looking good,
yeah,
open the door to vulnerability, open the door to truly understanding this other human being that I'm walking through life with.
Yeah.
Who is this person? But that also means, who am I?
Right.
And to reveal myself to my partner, and my partner reveal me. So I wrote this ebook called 7 Conversations to Make a Good Marriage Great. So I have the couples communicate a sense of revealing themselves, a sense of being vulnerable. And when they do that and they understand each other, they're able to go, I get it. That's why I'm with you. So, and there's times too, Linda, when they go, we shouldn't be together.
So what makes, I mean, is there something that can make a relationship irreconcilable?
Yes, it is. I have absolutely no respect for you. I think that respect is more important than love. The emotion of love, the feeling of love comes and goes. A lot of research has been done about the chemistry of love. It's more of a feeling of addiction than it is anything else.
Yeah.
I love the concept of love as a verb. It is
action. Yeah.
Right. So the respect, if I have a client who's dating, I'll tell them, when you go on your first date, ask the person, who do you admire and why? And whoever they tell you, like they admire their mother, or they admire their grandmother, whatever it is, and this is why I admire this person, I go, that's the person they want to marry. That's the person they should marry. So if you marry somebody that reminds you of the person that you admire, chances are you will stay with that person longer, which is why arranged marriages has worked, because it's 2 people that are seen by their families, that know their morals and their character and what people admire about them, and they put them together. And that's why it works, is because of they admire each other. But us Westerners will say, yeah, but what about love? What about love?
Yeah, no, this is a fascinating topic, because I've worked with a whole bunch of different people in the past, and the concept of the arranged marriages can be interesting, in the sense that it's obviously, as you said, the 2 families know the individuals. They see them in a slightly different way than they probably see themselves. But also the fact that a lot of people don't necessarily have the awareness to know who they truly are. That's the one thing. I mean, I can say from experience that, when I met my husband, when we got married, I did not have the awareness then of who I was, what I wanted, where I was going, that I have now. So it seems like it's a completely different world. So that's one thing. But also the involvement or the commitment of the families, both sides, to make something work seems like, gives people help. It gives them support in an otherwise, sort of unknown territory.
Yes. It does make it more difficult because we do marry the other. I married my spouse's family. I
Mm.
did. And I jokingly would say to my husband, I says, I married you because of your mom. She's an woman.
That's awesome.
But
Um,
then if she was an amazing woman, she must have raised an amazing man.
yes, indeed, indeed.
Yeah.
So what's your story? Like what how did you become so aware? How did you, gain this awareness of being married, being divorced, and being married again? So what's the backstory of Kimberly Brenner?
Uh, when I think the pivotal point in my world, in my life, I was in sales. I worked for high-end cosmetic companies where I was the rep and I traveled and I loved it. I was gone a lot. I was married. We had a child and I just loved being important in my work, but my work was killing me.
Mm,
I I was getting so many physical problems. I couldn't hold a pen in my hand. I couldn't stand on one foot. I was really, really, really stressed. But, it's one of those things at the time, it's like I'm pushing myself and I'm going to prove myself better than the other men in the field because
mm,
that was the time that I lived in the 70s and in the 80s, pushing, pushing, pushing for my place. And uh, a friend of mine down the street said, well, why don't you come see me? I can help you with all of your physical problems. I go, well, what do you mean? And she says, well, I do this energy work thing. And I'm like, okay. Now, keep in mind, this is the 1980. Okay, 1980. I do this energy thing. And I'm like, fine. I trusted her. I went to see her. And she starts running her hands over my body, not touching it, but just, grazing it. And I could feel something coming out of my body. And I'm like, what is that? And she says, oh, it looks like green, yucky stuff. And I'm like, what are you talking about? It was so strange to me. So I would see her ongoingly, and she would heal everything on my physical body. So the doctors didn't have to operate.
mm.
And I'm like, what is going on? It was just this whole different world, whole different world. And then she kept saying, when are you going to do it? When are you going to do it? When are you going to do it? Why would I do this? I'm in the corporate world. I'm
Yeah,
like, right?
and I'm
So
stressed.
I'm stressed. I'm falling apart. But I did. I said, okay, I'll do the training. And it was 6 months before the training was going to happen. And those 6 months, the beliefs of myself, the belief of the world I lived in was challenged. And it's hard to explain how it was challenged. It just was. So by the time I went for the training, I was ready. I was cleansed in a way. I was ready to receive something brand new. And I did. It's called Marielle, Mari, capital E, capital L. It means the mother of God. And anybody who was trained in Marielle was trained by Ethel. She's the only one. Now, Ethel is deceased, but she's still in spirit form, and she still helps people, which is kind of interesting.
Mm.
And so in order to practice, you have to give 50 sessions away. So I started giving sessions away, and within 1 week, I had a full-time business, and I was getting paid for it. So I knew at that moment that that is what I needed to be doing in the 80s. So that was back 1984. And I did that in Chicago and I did that in Atlanta. And I would go back and forth between the two cities doing my energy work. And I think it's influenced my life because I'm not the same person energetically, or my vibrations are not the same as who I was in the past. I look at pictures of myself in the past, Linda, and it looks like I've got a stick up my butt. Really, I was like, who is that woman? Who is she?
So, but physically, did you change? As in your...
I, I'm 67 years old. People say you don't look 67.
No, you
Why?
don't.
Because of the energy.
Yeah.
It's the energy, the meditation, and calling in the energy every day. It keeps me young. It keeps me healthy. It keeps me vibrant. So I do believe in it. I'll never stop because of the benefits from it.
Yeah.
Even though I don't particularly lay a person on a table and run the energy over them, I do know that even though my clients will sit across from me or even Skype, that the energy is working because we have an agreement with each other. Two people, why are we together? There's an agreement.
Mm.
I tell my clients, I says, I say, God, who do you want me to see? And that person shows up.
Yeah.
And then they say to me, I asked for you. And I laugh and I go, yeah, I know I asked for you too. But this is our agreement, how we find each other. It's in the vibration and in something communicating that we can't even see.
And I love this because, this is exactly the kind of thing that I do with my clients as well, is I talk about the be, do, have. And the be, do, have for me is really about helping people sort of switch their have, do, be, which that is, once I have something like this, I don't know, once I have a husband, or once I have the job, or once I have whatever, I'll be able to, I don't know, go on holidays, or I'll be able to have a really great life, and then I'll be happy. And so, but energetically, that's completely upside down, because like attracts like in energy. So I mean, I absolutely love what you're saying, because it really speaks to, if you can just be that energy, that's what you're going to attract. It's not the other way around.
It would be great if we had a movement where people could let go of that belief, and what the world would look like if we can let go of that belief that I have to have it before I can be happy. And that, and in a lot of ways, when you talked about happiness in marriage, how can the woman be happy? So the other day, a woman was saying, it's not my boyfriend's job to make me happy. She said this. And I said, well, you have to understand, your boyfriend can only be a man or feel like a man. He gives up being a boy for a woman he wants to be with, to make her happy, because his life is better. If she's happy, his life is better. So it's important that he knows, I can make this woman happy. So it's important that the woman pick a man that she respects, because if she doesn't respect how he lives his life, how he spends his money, how he drives his car, how he parents, if she doesn't respect that, she's not going to be happy.
Yeah.
And he'll feel like a failure. And when a man feels like a failure, I mean, nobody likes to feel like a failure, but when a man feels like a failure, he leaves physically or he leaves emotionally. So women then get mad, because where did he go? He went up to the bleachers. He disappeared on me. He's not there for me. And women want a partner. They want to know he's there for me. So they don't quite get it, that if you say to your partner, I couldn't do this without you. You really helped me in my life. It's so important that you're with me. As a partner, talking to a partner. But she can only do that if she respects him. So it's our job to make sure as women that we pick a man that we can respect.
And that the I guess the woman in the partnership that has awareness and is willing to be vulnerable.
Correct. So when I ask a woman, do you know what would make you happy? And they tell me no. I go, you're setting your husband up to fail. You want somebody else to figure out how to make you happy when that's your job.
Yeah, the like victim mentality almost, that says, somebody else will figure this out for me, and then if they don't, then poor me.
Correct. Yeah.
Mm.
And so men end up feeling frustrated and upset, and it's just not fair. And that's what I realized those 7 years that I was divorced from my husband. I interviewed men everywhere. I wanted to figure men out during those 7 years because I could. I wasn't married,
Yeah.
and 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 I was shocked and amazed on how they were boys. They were men in their physical form as a man, but they acted like boys. So I have a phrase. I says, a boy says, "I love you because you make me feel good." They're very selfish. But a man says, "I love you because I want to take care of you."
Mm.
So they're very generous. So they're secure in themselves. They know who they are. They have something to offer. And that's a man. But a boy will not give up being a boy unless it's a woman that he wants to be with.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the same thing for a girl. A girl says, "I love you because you make me feel good."
Mm.
And a woman says, "I love you because I want to take care of you."
Yeah. So yeah, and I guess that really speaks volumes to the sort of partnership, if both people are open and willing to
Yeah.
step into that
Yes.
relationship of sort of selflessness and care at the same
Yes,
time.
absolutely. Sue Johnson, emotional freedom technique. I love that phrase, "Are you there for me?"
Mm.
She talks about it in her book. Um, and it's so true. Like, are you there for me? And that's what it means to be a partner, that I
Mm.
can count on you and I can be myself and you're still there for me, but I'm there for you.
Yeah.
But I'm there for you. And that seems to be kind of counterproductive to women saying, "I don't need you. You don't
Yeah.
have to be there for me. I can do it by myself."
So what would you say to a woman or to a couple, if they're facing, so the woman sort of is aware, because especially in the type of women I know, who are strong and very self-aware, and quite possibly people who are watching this interview will say, I know what I want, but I can't get through to my husband to get him to understand what that is, or I've told him and he still doesn't get it. So what would you say to those women?
That's something I hear all the time, Linda, where women will say, I've told him I'm lonely. I've told him that I'm falling out of love with him. I love him, but I'm not in love with him." That is a common phrase that I hear a lot. And it's like men just don't hear. So I'm doing a 5-day challenge, and it's going to be free on a Facebook page. 5-day challenge for how to have a more responsive husband. So how to
I love that. I love that. And what we'll do is we'll make sure that we have the links to that so that people can join, because it could be a very popular challenge.
So it'll be April 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th. So that week, and I'll do it live on Facebook, and then they can watch the recording. But I want to teach people out there what I do in my office. So in my office, I do one-on-one work. And this is an opportunity for me to reach a broader audience, more of an international audience in a way, because you're in France and I'm in Texas.
Yeah.
But women want to know that. How do I get across to my husband? How can I have him be responsive to me? Because men respond to women. They're just unaware of what they're doing to get a response of, I don't know, or they go to the bleachers, or yeah, I'll get to it tomorrow, and they don't, that kind of a stuff, because women are wanting a partner,
Yes.
somebody that they can count on. And the kiss of death, and I tell men, the kiss of death is when the woman says, "I can do this without you. I said, so you better be a man that shows up,
Yeah.
because you are ruining your relationship. The thing that you want to keep, you're going to lose if you keep doing that.
Mm,
So
brilliant.
as you can tell, I'm pretty direct with my clients, kind of like, you do that, you are going to fail, buddy. And they don't, men don't want to fail. They really want to succeed.
Yeah.
And they really do want to respond. They just don't want to respond to a nagging, complaining woman.
Mm.
Or women who say something, like a woman who'll say, I'm really hungry. And the guy goes, what am I supposed to do with that? Like there's no request there.
Yeah.
There's a statement. And then they don't know what to do. And then the woman gets really upset. Well, why didn't you give me something to eat? Well, I didn't know you wanted anything. Why didn't you ask me? Well, I did. No, you
said you were hungry.
I know, that's how it goes.
Yeah, yeah. And so is this different for same-sex couples?
No, I do work with same-sex couples, and it's the same. OMG, it is the same. So they do have another layer of issues, especially if their families haven't accepted their new lifestyle. So that's a factor, a bigger factor there too, because when that happens, it's like, who do they rely on? And the monogamy in the same-sex relationships is lower. So I have to take that into consideration. So we have to set really clear boundaries with same-sex couples. But once they get to know each other, they feel safer, and they settle into being a married couple.
Awesome. Yeah. So I guess the foundation is the same. It's just the I guess characteristics vary.
Yeah, different variables that impact their relationship.
This is fascinating conversation. So if people want to get in touch with you now, Kimberly, they would do that how?
Oh, they can go to Kimberly Brenner. That's my full name, Kimberly Brenner, BRENNER.com.
Perfect.
And that's my website where all my information about doing marriage counseling is. And they can send me an email and I can respond to them. And we're going to add the link to the 5-day challenge.
Yes.
Starting April the 3rd. And that's how they can get a hold of me, Linda.
Awesome. Well, Kimberly, this has been an absolutely fascinating conversation. I for one, have gotten a lot out of it. I really want to thank you and acknowledge you for the work that you do, and for the relationships that you're healing, essentially.
Thank you.
There's so many wounds in this world, and for you to actually do the work that you do and the healing that you do, I think is making a huge contribution to making this world a better place. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Linda. Thanks for your work too.
Thank you.
We do have, right?
Yeah, that's right. We do have.
Okay.
So thank you, everyone. I will make sure that all the links are included for you to get in touch with Kimberly. And thanks again, Kimberly. And thank you, everybody, for watching. And I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you. Bye.